Selfish Karen wants to bring a baby to my child-free party. My sister has a young daughter, less than a year old. I'd suggested she get rid of the baby when her husband passed away, but she didn't take my advice. Now she's constantly struggling to raise this kid and never seems to have a babysitter. So I told her that she couldn't come to my housewarming. Everyone thinks I'm being harsh, but I just don't see why I should have to accommodate a situation she created for herself. Me and my boyfriend Matt recently moved into a new home together. We've been planning to throw a housewarming party for friends and family, but we've decided to not have kids under a certain age, say 5 or 6. I just think it's going to be a hassle with young kids screaming and running around, especially in our new house. Most of the people we've invited have kids older than that, or none. My sister Emma has a 7-month-old daughter. She's a single mom and she's struggling a bit now with everything, and this is something I told her to think carefully about and make a rational decision while she was pregnant. So anyway, I obviously invited Emma, and she called to ask if she could bring my niece. I said, "No, sorry, we're not having any young kids." She then said that Matt's kids are going to be there, but I said his kids are 8 and 6, so they're older. Emma eventually said that she wouldn't be able to attend, which I understand, but she did sound kind of annoyed about it. Mom invited me and Emma over for lunch a couple of days ago. The topic of the party came up, and Mom pulled me aside and said we're awful for excluding Emma. I said that we're not excluding her, it's anyone that has young kids. But Mom said that I'm unsupportive and should be understanding towards her. I kind of got mad, so I replied that those are the rules, and Emma brought this on herself, and I said we shouldn't be coddling her all the time. Emma heard this, and she looked hurt. I did say sorry if she was upset, but she left a little bit after that. Mom went off at me, saying, "I've done it now," and a bunch of other stuff. Again, I did apologize to Emma. I told Matt everything, and he agrees that they're overreacting. But clearly Emma was upset, and so was Mom. So am I the jerk? Edit. Okay, since I'm seeing a lot of comments about this, we didn't make the rule specifically for Emma, and she's not the only one impacted by it. There are some other guests with younger kids too. They either declined or said they can arrange a sitter or something. Edit 2. My niece's dad and Emma didn't break up. He passed when she was pregnant. I don't really see how this is such crucial info to the situation now, but here you go. Edit 3. People are saying that I shouldn't have invited Matt's kids either. Matt lives here. He's the homeowner. Even if it was a completely child-free party, Matt's kids would be allowed because it's their dad's house, and by extension, theirs too. This isn't Emma's or any other guest's house. One of the many swords that Reddit lives by is your house, your rules. Not this time. This original poster was just too ice-hearted to win them over. Imagine telling someone who just lost their husband that they should terminate their pregnancy. Even if you truly think it's the smartest option, it doesn't take great heaps of social awareness to realize how bad that sounds. Also, if the concern is little kids running around and screaming, how on earth is the 6-year-old going to be any better than the baby, who probably doesn't even know how to walk yet? There is one intriguing issue here, though. I sort of understand the idea that the homeowner's kids should be allowed, even if it's a child-free party. On the other hand, how much are they going to enjoy a party where there are no other kids? Wouldn't it make sense to invite some kids for them to play with, and simply let them play in another room, away from the main party? What do you think about this issue? I'm sure it's not easy to put yourself in the shoes of a sociopath who tells fresh widows what to do about their pregnancies, but how would you handle the situation of inviting children if you were this OP? Let us know down in the comments. Ungrateful daughter is angry my boyfriend bought her new clothes. So I recently married my new boyfriend, and my daughter never really got along with her new father. She's moving out soon because she just started uni. I told her a few times that she needs to clear out her room so her father can start setting up his work and hobby space in there. That should have been last week, but apparently she's busy with exams and work, which I know is total BS because she had time for a work trip, and uni isn't that stressful. But anyways, my husband offered to box up her things while she's away at her work trip. Most of her stuff that's still here were some weird Chinese comic books, figures, video games, consoles, and so on. Since my husband and I both think that she finally needs to grow up and start acting and dressing like a proper lady, he sold the whole lot of stuff at a gaming store. It was a lot of money, so he had the idea to use it to buy her some dresses and makeup because she only wears boy clothes and only owns some skirts for when she dresses up as one of those fictional characters. He thought it would be a good idea for bonding with her and doing her a favor so she can look pretty when going to campus and finally get a real boyfriend. But after she came home and we showed her everything, she was furious. She threw a tantrum like a little kid and demanded the money back. I can't believe that she's so rude and ungrateful, but her real father and her uncles gave me grief for not stopping my husband from doing that for her. I love my daughter, and she's refusing to talk to me, so I do kind of feel bad. So I think I might be the jerk for letting my husband do that for our daughter. But he did it with good intentions, so I'm kind of conflicted between I'm the jerk and she's an ungrateful kid. What do you think? I love the sarcasm quotes around real when discussing her biological father. Also, I'm not buying this. Only the dumbest man alive would think that the best way to bond with his stepdaughter is to sell all of her things behind her back and try to force a new lifestyle on her. Only the dumbest woman alive would go along with it. How much of a genius does the real father have to be for the two of them combined to breed a child capable of getting into university? Look, I hate questioning if a person's love is real, especially their love for their own child. But loving someone conditionally is a pretty poor way to show affection. If you can only accept your daughter if she changes literally everything about her looks and personality, then you've missed the mark by a pretty wide margin. And if you only feel bad because your daughter is refusing to talk to you instead of for how you made her feel, then you don't feel bad about what you did. You just feel bad that you got punished for it. If this is a real story, it's one of the greatest displays of emotional unawareness I've ever seen. Yes, you're the jerk. The real concern here is how you became so detached from reality that you need to ask that question in the first place. My psychic abilities told me that my 7-year-old is gay. I'm married to a loving husband and share custody with my ex of one little 7-year-old boy. My son has never been traditionally masculine. He enjoys playing with dolls, and most of his friends are girls. Whenever I take him out to Target, I offer him toy cars and action figures that are actually appropriate for a boy his age to play with, but he's never interested. I've tried to talk with his father about this, but he doesn't seem to care as much as I do. He always dismisses my concerns by saying, they're just toys, or it doesn't matter what he plays with, you're making a big deal out of nothing. I've been trying to get myself to relax, but no matter how hard I try, I just can't. What my ex-husband doesn't understand is that I am an empath. As an empath, I can sense things most other people can't, and my son has been sending me major gay vibes as of late. My ex has been trying to silence me. He tells me that trying to act as if I know more about my 7-year-old son's orientation than him is effing neurotic. But I think he's just angry that I know better than him. So yesterday at a family cookout, I told my son that he's gay. My son is confused. My ex-husband is furious. And, to my shock, none of my family members are taking my side. Was I in the wrong for this? Edit. I'm shocked to see such overwhelmingly negative feedback, but I thank the silent majority who knows I'm right and supports me for this. I see you, and I love you. I can't believe this, but I feel like I actually need to explain why this OP is the jerk. If you're not aware, empath memes have been a thing on TikTok since around the start of the year. This is clearly meant to be a riff on that. The thing is that those memes usually follow a common thread. The empath in those videos is almost always reacting to something obvious, like sensing that a woman in childbirth might be in pain. If this OP is doing the same thing, then the joke here is that the son is obviously gay because he doesn't play with traditionally masculine toys, which is just blatantly untrue. So not only is this OP the jerk if this happened, they're even the jerk if it didn't happen. That said, I do love the edit about the silent majority. For context, literally not one person took OP's side. She probably just sensed their good vibes. Empaths do that, you know. This is either wildly offensive or one of the best pieces of trolling I've seen in a minute. Which do you think? If you made it this far in the video, consider liking and subscribing for more videos coming. My husband hid my daughter's passport, so I canceled our vacation. My husband and I have been together for 3 years. He has 3 kids from his previous relationship, and I have 1. She's the oldest at 17. He's a dedicated man, puts God first, and loves everyone. My husband always complains that my daughter doesn't spend time with her step-siblings or with him, but she has reasons for that. Those reasons are school, health issues, and work. She does her best to spend as much time with them as she can, but she, on the other hand, complains that her stepdad tells her to basically take on the role of a babysitter whenever she's with her step-siblings. My husband denied that and said that my daughter was making up excuses to not have to spend time with his kids. For this issue, I figured that a family trip is what the family needed to get together and spend more time around each other. My husband liked the idea, but said that his kids are now uncomfortable around my daughter because of her attitude. He suggested we let her stay home and have the house all to herself since that's what she always wanted. I told him it's best that we all go. He kept complaining until I snapped and told him to stop. I booked and paid for the whole family. However, my daughter told me she couldn't find her passport. We turned the house upside down looking for it, but couldn't find it. My husband said maybe it was a sign from God that we should let her stay home so the trip wouldn't turn into a disaster. I ignored his comment, but later, while I was cleaning his office, I found the passport tucked away in the third drawer under a ton of papers. I was floored by this. I confronted him with it, and he swore he had no idea why or how the passport got there. I checked the upstairs camera and saw him enter my daughter's room. That was it for me. I screamed my head off at him and then canceled the whole trip completely. He started arguing, saying I overreacted and that he didn't want his kids to be miserable on the trip and that he was willing to apologize to my daughter if and when I reconsider my decision regarding the cancellation of the trip, because my stepkids will be devastated. But I said it was final and that it was done. He became cold and distant and said that he wants to take some time to do some fasting and get guidance from God about how he should deal with the disrespect and control I had displayed lately. Am I the jerk for canceling it altogether? I think someone should tell this OP that we were already on her side when this husband, who supposedly loves everyone, started hating the daughter for having too many health issues to babysit. So she would have been fine if she just admitted that she didn't trust him and went looking for the passport. Nobody's going to believe that she just happened to be cleaning underneath a pile of papers in a random drawer, unless she cleans way differently than I do. I also admire this OP's restraint. Redditors love to throw accusations of narcissism around any time a person has a mild disagreement with them. But this man referring to his own deception as a sign from God is one of the most otherworldly displays of narcissism I've ever seen in these stories. If he really hates his stepdaughter so much that he'd try to keep her out of a vacation, literally meant to help her bond with him and his kids, then maybe he shouldn't be in the same family as her to begin with. I'd like to think his prayer and fasting will lead him to that conclusion, but I'm not sure my faith is that strong. Controlling boyfriend tries to force hypnosis on me. I had gone to Vegas with a few friends, my boyfriend, and my boyfriend's brother. We ended up going to a hypnotism show after having gone out for drinks. The drinks were hitting me pretty hard when I walked in, and I was having a great time until the part where they call people up on stage, and they picked me. I was feeling pretty tipsy and didn't want to do it, so I shook my head no. But then my boyfriend grabbed me and tried to pull me up to the stage. I tried to resist being pulled along, but he was really yanking me up there. We'd gotten the attention of the rest of the audience, and they were all cheering for him to pull me up there. I was kind of ticked off because, first, I was feeling a little too drunk and nauseous, and second, because if my boyfriend had not wanted to do something, I'd respect that. I've often even been the bad guy, saying no to things for him so he wouldn't have to because of social anxiety, so I was angry that he didn't respect it the other way around. So when he tried to pull me up the stairs to the stage, I just went completely limp. Just 170 pounds of dead weight collapsing onto the bottom stair. I also started laughing at the whole situation. Remember, I was buzzed. He tried to lift me up, and I went full noodly. And then his brother joined in, and they both managed to lift me up. But they couldn't keep hold of me, so I just kept sliding to the ground. The crowd was laughing, but more at the guys now than at me. Some people were joking about how the guys couldn't even lift a girl together. Someone in the crowd yelled out to ask if I was okay, and I yelled back, "No, I think I've just suddenly found myself single. Wasn't expecting that tonight." The hypnotist cracked a few jokes about how Vegas is the best place to find yourself suddenly single, then said that he couldn't hypnotize someone who was obviously not open to persuasion of any sort. I felt kind of bad for disrupting the show, though maybe he wasn't bothered. It was a comedy show after all. I grabbed my friends and headed out, telling my boyfriend not to follow me. They took me back to their hotel room and told me to sleep it off, figuring I hadn't meant what I'd said about the breakup. But in the morning, my now ex-boyfriend came by wanting to talk, and I stood by what I said, that it was over. I was angry. I'd always been sensitive to his needs, even letting him cast me as the bad guy to get out of plans he didn't want to do, but he saw my consent as a joke. I was over it. He was furious, saying I was being rash, that I'd humiliated him by dumping him in front of a crowd. He said he didn't even get it. If I didn't want a scene, why did I make a bigger scene? I didn't feel like I was being rash. I want a partner who doesn't think it's funny to hear my no and ignore it. Not just ignore it, but think it's funny to push me to do the thing I said no to anyway. Am I the jerk for how I reacted when my boyfriend tried to pull me on stage for a hypnotism show? Well, I can promise you the hypnotist wasn't bothered. He works in Vegas. I promise you this is not the first time he's had a show derailed by drunk people. Part of the job is learning to do crowd work in precisely those sorts of instances. As for the boyfriend, it's not really his place to be embarrassed. It only happened because he was trying to publicly embarrass another person. To quote one of Reddit's most overused phrases, "Play stupid games, win stupid prizes." A lot of people doubt any story that has an everybody clapped moment, which this one does. So it might sound strange that I'm so on board with it, considering some of the other stories I've questioned. And the answer is actually pretty simple. This boyfriend is selfish and toxic. He wants favors that he won't reciprocate. And in my experience, it's often the dumbest tipping points that finally lead to those relationships ending. It's never the big angry fight. It's the time your significant other tries to pull you on stage for the comedy show. When people deal with the same toxic behavior throughout a relationship, they eventually get to a point where they'll take any good excuse to break things off. And this OP found one. What do you think? Would you have handled things the same way OP did, or would you have done things differently? Let us know in the comments if or how you would have dropped the curtain on this relationship. Please leave your stories in the comments. I'd love to make a video of them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.